Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Music score by Yefi Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio, your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Get ready for Talking Heads, the show where expert insights meet world-class education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. Brought to you by USA Global TV and Radio. Meet our distinguished presenters. From the great state of Texas, longevity expert, award-winning author, publisher, and distinguished Toastmaster, Red O'Loughlin. From London, England, soul heart awakener, novelist, vocal coach, and artist, Dr. Madeline Chan. Also from England, the Harley Street stress expert, therapist, ambassador for peace, and speaker, Carolyn Huard. And from Australia, ICF PCC credentialed coach, entrepreneur, and leadership coach, Mariska Dupria. Experience their expertise, connect with their wisdom, and transform your perspective. Watch Talking Heads on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. This video and its contents are the property of USA Global TV and Radio. All rights reserved. Terms and conditions apply. Visit usaglobaltv.com for more details.
Howdy, y'all. Red O'Loughlin here. We're on Talking Heads today on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. And we're talking about one of my favorite subjects today, and that's longevity. It's an area that I really got involved using my chemistry background in order to research the human body at the cellular level, finding out what causes things to happen, what speeds them up, what slows them down, what stops them. So let me get my slides loaded up here, and we will go ahead and get our show started today. Our show is live streamed on many different networks. I think we're still adding, I think since last week we added 2 or 3 new ones. But Amazon Fire, Zizzle TV, E360 TV, YouTube, Android, and Apple TV, social media, and many more. I have simulcasts on 2 of my Facebook channels. And for all of my presentations of this nature, it's all for awareness and education. I'm not a, let me just go ahead and pop over to that slide in just a moment. We'll be there. But I'm a researcher. I research and try to provide some level of value to people with regard to longevity, age-related diseases, anything that's out there that talks about health and wellness. But I look at the end of life. That's kind of where I'm at right now, is those last decade or 2 of your life. But my website is redolaughlin.com. That's REDOLAUGHLIN. That's Red O'Loughlin, REDOLAUGHLIN.com. And my books can be found there, blogs, about 1,500 blogs on my website. And I also have about 1,000 original content articles on LinkedIn, so I can be found on social media there too. As far as the USA Global TV and Radio Network, Talking Head shows that I do can be found on YouTube, on USA Global TV, for live streams that we're doing right this minute. If you're looking at archives, being able to go back and search previous editions. And I'm trying to keep all of the archive shows also on my website. I'm a researcher. I've never been in the medical field, never been in the pharmaceutical field, but I love chemistry. I always have, ever since sophomore in high school. It's my first degree. I have a total of 5 academic degrees. I got 7 professional certifications. I spent 31 years in the Navy, retired as a Navy captain, naval flight officer. Actually got to 61 countries in the world with the Navy, but my wife and I just went on a cruise and we chalked up number 62. Most of my research, the vast majority of it, deals with cause and effect relationships. Treat a cause, fix a problem. Treat symptoms, and it's a Band-Aid that's not fixing anything. And so I have to ask myself, why can I not treat the cause? Why do I have to treat the symptom? And that's what I try to do, tell my audience about. We've been married 56 years. In July, I'll be 57. We have a couple kids, 3 grandkids and 1 great grandson. Best-selling author. I've written 8 books. I'm writing 2 more right now. Independent publisher. I've done over 40 books for other authors. Distinguished Toastmaster. I mentioned earlier, over 1,000 original content articles on LinkedIn. And for everything that I'm doing, it's all educational purposes. I try to provide awareness to people. On the Wise Ones on the USA Global TV and Radio Network for last year as a host, I was number 2 and number 6 for programming in that particular cycle. So today I'm talking about longevity, particularly what can I do to enhance my ability, your ability to make our lives more fulfilling, more functional, more capable. In other words, if you look at, it may not be able to read it on that slide, but how to live to 100 years of age with the body of a healthy 50-year-old, the mind of a 25-year-old. And that's what I'm looking at. In that particular book, I concentrated on 2 things. One was human growth hormone, and the other one was the telomere length at the end of your DNA in each of your cells. And so I'm looking today at enhancing that a little bit, because my next book coming out is a sequel to this book, and I have I'm going to say at least 10, probably 11 or 12 additional things that cause us to age that we have some level of control over. But what is longevity? It's pretty simple. It's living a longer and healthier life. And the healthier part of that thing is the key ingredient of the longevity definition. We have other terms we use: lifespan, longevity, life expectancy, a lot of terms that are floating around out there. But longevity is that longer and healthier life. Lifespan deals with the beginning and the end, from birth to death. What is that amount of time? So if I'm talking about the lifespan of a particular insect, turtle, dog, animal, but for humans, it's roughly about 122 years nowadays. And life expectancy, I'll be 79 in September. My life expectancy is the number of years remaining that I can expect to live. So as a 40-year-old, you may have a life expectancy of 76. With COVID, I think it may have gone down a year or 2. I think it's starting back up again. But each of these terms have some level of indication of our total number of years that we're going to live. But what do I expect after I retire? I want a full and healthy life. I don't want somebody changing my diaper for the last 5 years of my life. I want to be fully functional. I want to be capable. I want to enjoy life. I want to be able to socialize, to travel, to do the things that I want to do. People ask me how I am. Usually, most of the time, 99% of the time, I'm going to say, excellent, as always. And there's lots of reasons. I've talked about that in previous shows. But occasionally, I'll come up with just another wonderful day in paradise. And I try to live every day as if it's just another wonderful day in paradise, because most of the time it is. There's some days that are better. But what stops us from enjoying life? Well, it boils down to just a few things. But under a generic term of disease, you get heart disease, liver, cancer. Obviously, the pandemic created a lot of problems: stroke, respiratory illnesses, dementia. But you also have doctor errors and hospital errors. I think they're the 3rd largest cause of deaths in the United States every year. We don't think about that. Sometimes the dosage is wrong. Sometimes the diagnosis is wrong. Sometimes the other things creep in there. But just as an accident can ruin your day, a doctor or hospital error can also ruin your day. The diabetes, I just had a very, very good friend of mine pass away, complications of diabetes. I'll be going to his funeral services this weekend. But obesity limits a lot of things we can do. But if you look at this list, most of them are non-communicable. In other words, we self-induced whatever that problem was to ourselves. And in reality, the things that we need to self-induce a problem are some of the same things we need to do to fix the problem. But let me walk you down the road of statistics, because it's an area that I love. In fact, I actually took statistics as an elective in high school. So math and I was a chemistry major, but math and physics minor, and I took math as an elective. I took statistics as an elective, but it wasn't in the math department. It was in the sociology department. but I fell in love with it. I actually ended up teaching college for about 3 years, statistics, and I think it's just a wonderful science. But if I look at the general topic of ischemic heart disease, it's one of the #1 causes of death. And our bodies are not getting enough blood flow to them, and as a result, we're not getting enough oxygen to the cells in the body. COVID-19 really created a lot of problems because people who had issues with barely getting enough blood or oxygen now we're in a super risk category. And then you end up with stroke, COPD, again, a lung disease, talking about a respiratory infection, lower respiratory infections, pneumonia. Now, here we start getting into an area where maybe it's not self-induced. Maybe I had a bacterial infection, a fungal infection, a viral infection. So there are some things that we walk out the door, shake hands with somebody, and come down with something. But most of the time, that's not the case. We end up with cancer. We end up with dementia, diabetes, kidney disease, tuberculosis. Most of the things that do us in are things that we do to ourselves, either by neglect or on purpose. If you are a smoker for 60 years, chances are that smoking is going to affect your retirement ability to do things. So we talk about these lifestyle factors. That's your diet and your exercise and your stress management and your sleep. Lots and lots of things are lifestyle factors. So if I am not making the right lifestyle choices, I can have a problem. But if I have a problem, I can probably fix that problem with now making the right lifestyle choices. Cardiovascular diseases, they tell you to fix that: diet, exercise, weight management, stop smoking, manage your stress. Go ahead and get screenings on a regular basis. Screen your blood pressure, your cholesterol, EKG check, glucose. I mentioned 1 or 2 of my sessions back. I'm thinking seriously of getting a continuous glucose monitoring deal to stick on my body and measure with my phone. Why? Not because I have a problem with glucose. I do not have an insulin resistant problem. Probably have, maybe a little bit. But when you eat something, what does your body do? When you exercise, what does your body do? And this glucose monitor gives us a real-time evaluation of what's happening. That assessment that, okay, that's interesting. And sometimes seeing what happens allows us to make changes more easily that we wouldn't normally do. Annual physicals, I haven't missed an annual physical since 1968. I think it's absolutely critical. If you don't know where you are, where you're going. But age, genetics, family history, they all enter into the big picture of what's going on. But if you haven't had an annual physical in a while and you're at or above retirement age, something you should seriously consider. If you're 30 years of age and you're not getting annual physicals, give some serious thought to it, because that trend is going to show up much faster in the annual physical from one year to the next than if all of a sudden you have a tumor the size of a grapefruit growing inside of you that you didn't know anything about and you have 6 months to live. Why not know something in advance? And most insurance companies now pay for the physical at least once a year. Respiratory illnesses. Well, a lot of things we can do there. Cleaner air. I have a dry eye problem. I went to a specialist. One of the things that was recommended was a particular kind of filter that I can use that actually makes the air much cleaner. I have less debris and things in the eye. So for me, it's not a respiratory illness solution. It is, but for me, it's a better eye health solution. Good hygiene, immunizations, all of these things help us prevent smoking, a healthy body weight, the right kind of diet, the right kind of exercise, limiting our alcohol, and believe it or not, learning how to breathe. Most of us really and truly do not know how to breathe. We do it. It's a habit that we've established our entire lives and will continue forever. But there are some things we can do to actually improve the level of getting oxygen into our body where it's being used in our brain and all our organs and everything. Being able to limit the pollutants, having the right kind of filters on our homes, our air conditioners, allergens. Lots of things affect our respiratory system. and we have control over a fair amount of them. As I talked about, these are standard health prevention suggestions that any doctor, you go to Dr. Google or Dr. YouTube and look it up online, and they're going to say, eat better, exercise more, sleep better, umpty. These are the standards. And if you're not doing them, chances are your health is going to suffer. Maybe not this year, maybe not next year, but at some point in time, not doing something is going to become a problem. But if you're doing everything right, and it's really difficult for all of us to do everything right, but let's try to do some of them right where it becomes a habit, and then we pick up a couple more. But everything's covered pretty much under lifestyle choices. So you have to ask yourself, if you have a problem nowadays, how's that working out for you? We know what to do, but do we do it? For some of us, I've never smoked. It's easy for me not to smoke. But for some people who picked it up as a habit as a teenager, they're still carrying that same habit along. If you love to exercise, some people exercise every day, no matter what. Other people almost refuse to exercise because there's no value in that for them. So we do things by habit many times. So it's like getting up in the morning and having breakfast. It's a habit. Western medicine teaches us, Eastern medicine teaches us, have breakfast. Whether you have it or not, it's not important. Western medicine says the best, start your day with a breakfast. The healthiest meal of the day is a breakfast. But breakfast is not that important. I usually don't eat until about 3 o'clock in the afternoon as my first meal. But I wake up and I'm dehydrated. Absolutely. It has same symptoms as starving. But I also fast a lot. So I recognize a lot of those little nuances between them. But why do we not do some of these things? Many reasons. Broke it down to essentially psychological, social, practical, and some other factors. So let's look at those for a few minutes. Psychological factors. Well, we hear the term PTSD nowadays being used. It's a fairly common thing, even for people who aren't in the military. But some of us have emotional traumas, and they lead to unhealthy binge eating. Food is that one sacred thing almost that if I can have that piece of chocolate cake or ice cream or something else, it just makes me feel better, but doesn't necessarily solve the emotional problem. I still have the trauma there. It's still in my brain, and it's telling me I need something, but I'm picking the wrong things. So that unhealthy binge eating, or just the unhealthy choosing of things that are not necessarily in our best interest. And it may be other habits that are out there too. We have this thing called cognitive dissonance, where we have a goal, we have a value, but there's a conflict. And it's not a big conflict. It can be resolved, but we just don't take the time to assess the difference between what I currently value as good for me and what my goal in life is. And there's a disruption in our brains that cause a psychological issue. And then we start getting a conflict between my rational thought and my emotional thought. I wrote a book called, based on Dr. Maxwell Maltz's Psychocybernetics, and the book talks about the subconscious brain. I'm trying to think of the name of it by all of a sudden I'm coming up with another program. I'll think of the book here in just a second. In fact, I tell you what I'm going to do while we're talking about that. I am just going to pop over here and look at it real quickly. No matter what, you can do it. I can't remember why I couldn't think of no matter what, you could do it. But I talk about the subconscious mind based on Dr. Maxwell Maltz's research. And there's a lot of things in there that I never knew, but all of a sudden I finally realized what it's all about. And it's all in our brain. And our subconscious mind controls about 95% of everything we're doing. So why not understand what's in control of our life and learn how to lead it down the right path? Because we do have a lot of control over our subconscious mind, but people don't understand that our subconscious mind works both on real and imagined, and we never even enter the world of imagined in trying to improve our lives. What are some of the social factors? Well, we have attitude. Every day is not a perfect day, even though I like to think that just another wonderful day in paradise. There's some days that things are just not working out right. Went to a visitation and a funeral, and because I was a pallbearer, I was at the cemetery yesterday. Uh, yeah, it's kind of a downer. Uh, we have mood issues. Things happen. Family, friends, work, a lot of pressures, deadlines. Lots of things are out there in our social worlds that affect our brains, affect our attitude, affect our overall relationship with other people. And sometimes those things become a habit, and they become an unhealthy habit because it affects our health, our long-term health. Sometimes different people, different cultures, different traditions, those things conflict with our real world. And you don't want to do something because it's not what my grandfather told me. It's not what I should be doing. It's not expected of me. Lots of things in there. We're aware of these things, but we don't do them, or we do them because of some cultural or traditional aspect of our lives. Uh, Most of us want to manage stress. I really and truly believe this, but they don't recognize that they have stress. What, me have stress? I don't give. I give stress. I don't take stress. Trust me, everybody has some level of being able to reach out there, grab a hold of that stress, and not let go. And it's a relatively easy thing to do. It can start with a simple smile, a laugh. It's recognizing it for what it is. It's letting it go. But stress is a major issue in social environments. Sometimes you can't stand a particular person, a boss, a coworker. Get away from that person. You don't have to be in that person. Now, obviously, a wife, a spouse, a child, a coworker, a boss. There are some environments you can't get away from that, but you have to be able to manage that stress effectively. Some people are unwilling, or even as you get older, unable to exercise, but most of us are able to walk. And if you're able to walk, and I'm talking walking without a walker, without a cane, having some good level of balance, being able to go out and enjoy the outside without having to really fear falling down and breaking something. But if we can exercise, even if it's just walking around the house, going up and down the stairs, you're at work, go up a couple, three flights of stairs rather than take the elevator or escalator. But there's a lot of things there that we can do, but we're either unwilling or unable to do it. And that's a social issue. And then the biggest one is unable to recognize we even have a health problem. All of a sudden you have a cough. Well, now a month later you still have a cough. Is that a health problem? Should I have been to the doctor 2 weeks ago? Generally speaking, you have a problem. In 10 days, it's either going to get better, stay the same, or get worse. If it stays the same or gets worse, you really need to see the doctor in about 10 days. So if you still have in a week, start making an appointment. Practical factors, and I think this is definitely me in many, many regards. Time conflict. Too many things going on. Where's my priorities? I got a list of several lists of priorities that they don't necessarily conflict. I have them in the right order. I just don't have the time to get some things done on a particular day. Eating, choosing the wrong foods, exercising, again, not doing it, stress management, not doing it, lack of energy, yeah, that pops in occasionally. Sometimes I need a nap, sometimes I don't. Motivation, why am I doing this? It seems like some things we're more motivated for than others. Sometimes I don't have the lack of resources. Maybe I need the time, that's a resource. Maybe I want to go to the gym. I don't have the time. I don't have the availability to get there. But resources sometimes can be a problem. But if you have a computer or a cell phone and you want to learn how to do stress management, YouTube is one of the best teachers out there. Go in there and learn a new way of doing something. In the next 10 days, learn 10 different new ways to relieve stress. One of them might be to your liking. If it is, do that one as often as you can. But if we're trying to make a change in our life, it's difficult. We don't like change, but we can do incremental change. And okay, let's say that I want to stop drinking Coca-Cola. Well, if I've been drinking Coca-Cola for decades, I'm probably not going to be very effective at stopping. Well, maybe I cut down to one drink a day or half a Coke a day, or maybe I change over to diet soda. But look at what can you do incrementally to affect a change. Sometimes we have lack of self-control. Well, not sometimes. I think a lot of times we just don't practice that level of discipline that we need to make things happen. And many times that's why we have programs like this one, awareness. We don't know what we don't know. And that is a big problem, especially with health and more importantly with longevity. So you ask yourself the question, where does health really begin in the human body? Well, most of the time they're going to tell you the gut. I believe it actually starts at the cell, but we'll follow on down this road for a while. So the gut, that's where everything literally starts in our body, our digestion, the absorption, the immune function. Then you have that gut to brain connection. And if you watch my show here recently, I talked about insulin resistance and leptin resistance and ghrelin resistance and this resistance and that resistance and what you can do to break that resistance, to fix things that are slightly broken. So you have the connection there, but sometimes the leptin or ghrelin or insulin or other things become a problem because we are not giving ourselves a healthy gut to start with. But if we can fix our gut and keep it healthy, then some of these other problems go away. So when you control your gut, you control that misspelling there, but when you control your gut, you're basically in control of everything there. You have metabolic disorders that are going to be a problem. And this is why I think, yeah, the gut is a major problem, but our metabolic system, to me, is really and truly where the cause of everything's at. When earlier in my life, when I started writing about health and wellness, chronic low-level cellular inflammation, to me, is where all disease starts. And that all disease is literally just about everything possible, whether the brain, the heart, the kidneys, it doesn't matter. At some place in your body, you're going to have, in fact, 24/7, you're going to have disruptions. It's called free radical damage. It's from the food you eat, it's from the skincare products you take, it's from the air you breathe, it's from the exercises, from your stress. Everything that you do, you experience, is going to create some level of cellular inflammation at the lowest level in the body. So if we can stop that, if we can slow it down, if we can halt it, now we have some level of control of being able to say the mutations that are going to occur in our DNA are going to be less, or they're going to be easier to fix by our immune system. So if I'm looking at taking the right kind of antioxidants so that I can address the inflammation at the cellular level, then I have some beginning of control of not allowing disease to happen. There's a pretty simple measurement. It's called C-reactive protein. As you start building up inflammation in the body, you can measure it. And this body actually creates this protein called C-reactive protein. You can measure it. And if you keep that C-reactive protein almost unmeasurable, which is not difficult to do, then you're limiting what disease actually has a chance of beginning to get a grasp of some part of your body. Now, if you can keep your other aspects of your health, in other words, pH of your body, other things, we'll talk about that in just a second. There are other things we can do to also help that low-level insulin inflammation. But if I let that get out of control, the next thing that happens is oxidation. Same thing as if I have a piece of iron outside and I don't protect it on a daily basis, over time it's going to rust. And that oxidation happens in the body, and that's where disease really starts to become a problem. So what can I do to improve my gut health? Well, the same things they tell you to do for everything else. Your lifestyle choices, getting the right diet, the right choices of food, the right quantity of food at the right time, exercise, a variety of different kinds of exercises, being able to manage your stress, being able to get good quality sleep, being able to reduce, eliminate toxins. But when I look at my gut specifically, one of the real key things for gut health is fiber. There's a diversity of fruits and vegetables that if I had the ability to have 30 of these different kinds of things in my body every day, I would. But maybe I need to look at getting a dozen over the next week. I have 7 days. Can I get a dozen different kinds of fruits and vegetables into my body? Probably so. Can I take a soluble or a non-soluble fiber? Absolutely. They're pretty easy to do. Can I take a probiotic? Absolutely. Why not? Why not take a prebiotic? It's kind of like a fertilizer for the the flora and fauna in your gut. It gives them the ability to grow properly. So if you're not allowing the right good bacteria in your gut to thrive, then the bad stuff's going to take over. You're not going to feel good. A lot of other issues. Hydration, major problem. A lot of us just don't drink enough on a daily basis. Yeah, I may be okay, I'm just not thirsty. Well, you don't know you're thirsty because we just don't know. But hydration is super critical. I try to every morning add a little bit of salt, the kind that has 70, 80, 90 different kinds of trace elements in it. I use 1/8 of a teaspoon. I squeeze in a lemon or a lime or both. And I try to make that my first drink in the morning to give myself the hydration, to give myself some citric acid, to give myself some trace minerals. Those are things that I think are going to help my body. Chewing, Fletcher, Horace Fletcher, back about the 1930s, I think, was known for chewing. Chew everything at least 32 times. If your food is not the consistency of baby food when you're ready to swallow it, you're probably not chewed it enough. But if the food is properly chewed, it gets into your stomach. Now you have food that's ready to be absorbed, that's properly digestible. If you're chewing something and you really don't chew it well, it's in chunks, the body just can't break it down as much as it can. The quantity of food. In reality, the less you eat, the healthier you are in many cases. There's a thing called caloric reduction. If you cut back about 30% of the food that's actually required according to nutritionists for a daily basis. In other words, they say you need 15 calories of food for every pound of weight you have. But you take a look at animals that are on a restricted diet, you take a look at humans, the people who actually eat less but have some level of nutritional balance live a lot longer, and they don't have near the age-related problems that animals and other humans have. Fasting, I'm a big believer in fasting. I try to do a 72-hour fast every month. I try to do an intermittent fast on a daily basis. There's too many things that you end up with a health benefit by fasting from, but it's not something you can start right away. But you can start with doing a 12-hour fast or an 18-hour fast and gradually work up to it. But if it's something you're thinking about doing and you're already on some level of medicine, talk to your doctor first, because it may interfere with something you're already taking. If you can't get to your doctor, talk to your pharmacist. They're available a whole lot easier many times to talk to than your doctor. Alcohol reduction, some authorities say absolutely give it up completely. Others say, well, moderate amount. But in reality, if you can give it up completely, probably not a bad thing for you. Processed foods, especially ultra processed, since 1976, many believe that has been the entry portion of obesity in the world, is America's 1976 introduction to ultra processed foods. But eliminate them, reduce them, a lot of things you can do there. What else can we do? Well, what happens outside of the health and disease aspect? What if I fall? We have a neighbor who fell very recently, broke her arm. There are things that we can do to build up the strength, the porosity, the density of our bones. But if you don't know what you're doing, maybe you're doing the wrong things, or maybe you're not doing everything. There's a fairly easy, let me just keep it at the simple level. I take in calcium, whether I take it in from a plant or a pill, but I'd rather take it in from a plant. If I'm taking it from a pill, I need calcium that's absorbable. I don't need an oxide or there's a couple other ones out there, carbonate. Those are very difficult to absorb in the gut and the stomach. Magnesium is needed for that calcium absorption, and most people are deficient in magnesium. So there's two things you need, calcium and magnesium. You need vitamin D3 because it leaves the duodenum. The food's going to your gut. Well, you need the vitamin D3 to extract that calcium into the bloodstream. Now the calcium gets in the bloodstream. If you have vitamin K2, it's going to go to your bones. Simple. But if you don't have enough vitamin K2, it goes to your heart valves and arteries as plaque, and you don't need plaque in that part of your body. Okay, that gets the calcium to the bones. But if your pH of your body is under 7.4, and it's so easy to get there because just thinking exercise, metabolism, carbohydrates, fats, proteins, all provide you with the ability of your body to be in an acidic environment, less than 7.0. But your blood needs to be at 7.4. Well, if it's below 7.4, it's going to go into the bones and extract calcium out. Now, over time, decades, you're going to end up with brittle bone or very low porosity bone, because low density bone, because you don't have that. So you need fruits and vegetables in excess of your carbohydrates, fats, and proteins in order to keep your environment of your body above 7.4, so that the bloodstream doesn't leach calcium out of your bones. So lots of little things there, but that's a big one. You don't need to fall down and break something. That can be life-ending for all practical purposes. But balance exercises, being able to take extra precaution, you go downstairs, hang on for dear life, because it may be dear life. Anything else? Yeah, I'm a big believer in annual checks, whether it's a wellness check or an annual physical. I've told people for too long I have not missed an annual physical since 1968. It's just one of those things I believe in. 31 years of flight physicals with the military was habit enough for me to continue. Being aware of toxins that are around you. What's your exposure to them? Are you putting them on just because you can? You don't know any better? Well, read the labels. There's a lot of things there. It's amazing what we allow in the United States that Europe doesn't allow. It's like 1,000 different chemicals are allowed in the United States, and many of them have a problem with toxicity. One of those things that we almost never talk about with longevity is relationships. We just don't think about having a healthy relationship. Yeah, you might have it within a small group of people, but a relationship is a deadly disease if you don't have a good one as you're getting older. You got to make them, and you got to make them abound. Relationships make your end of life health, your retirement health, super great. One of those kind of weird things, your grip strength, being able to measure how good is your grip strength. We had good friends of ours. He was, I think, 94, 95. Probably one of the, you shake his hands and you're just amazed that somebody that age has that kind of grip strength. Well, maybe that's why he's 95. But it's a great biomarker for early death and early disease. Your grip strength is a kind of a conundrum. Why is my grip strength a measure of early death or disease risk? But there are grip strength meters out there. You can buy one on Amazon. They're not too expensive. Start testing it. Start doing some ability to increase your grip strength, because it will help you. A couple more things you can do. Reduce your processed food. We talked about that. But more importantly, reduce the level of fructose coming into your body. It's almost like alcohol. It's almost a poison in the quantities that we're taking it in. Sunlight is our friend, but we don't use it wisely. We tend to cover up with long sleeves. We tend to put covers on. We tend to put sunblock. A lot of things that we really need the sunlight, that infrared, the UV, to make melatonin in our body, to be able to apply that to the mitochondria. There's lots of things that we've talked about them on my shows before, but red light therapy is a major health improvement. I'm a super big believer in autophagy, which is one of the reasons I fast at least 72 hours. There's some other things you can do. They talk about hot and cold showers. I like hot. I'm not a big cold person. But there are things you can do to increase autophagy, just as you can do to increase your health. Reduce the blue lighting. You have these little things here, cell phones. Learn when not to use them, particularly when you're getting ready to go to bed. And I think that's the last slide. Yeah. The sleep quality you get, I started wearing almost a year ago a sleep mask. I just find it to be now absolutely a need. It cuts out any light you might see when you turn over in the middle of the night. There's something there. Reduce your alcohol level, particularly prior to going to sleep, at least several hours. Reduce your stress. If you're thinking about the same thing as keeping you up night after night, or can't let you get to sleep right away, it's a stress issue. Watch about what you're eating before you go to bed. Ketogenic diets, more fat than carbs. There's some goods and some bads. Probably the only bad I can say is it keeps your pH acidic, something that you need to be aware of. So if you're on a ketogenic diet, you really need to increase significantly your fruits and vegetables. Visceral fat, That's a area that I'm undertaking now. Reduce it because it will affect your quality of life later on in life. Exercise, as with grip strength, your ability to exercise is really and truly a biomarker for longevity. It really correlates well with how disease-free you will be at the end of your body. But in conclusion, listen to your body. It's the expert, but we have to pay attention. So with that, I bid you adieu, and I will catch you all next week. Take care now. Bye.
Meet Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, President, Founder, and Chief Listening Officer of USA Global TV and Radio. She is a certified life, career, and executive coach. Dr. Jacqueline is the Amazon #1 best-selling author of Behind the Green Screen and Adversity to Awesome. As the listening mentor, she teaches children and their families how to listen at an elevated level through the book series titled The Amazing Adventures of Lady Ella, the Listening Mentor. The Creative Hearts Awakening book series features heart-centric creatives who share their awakening journey. Through the Power of Listening educational course platform, people can get certified as elevated listeners on USA Global TV and Radio. Learn how to center yourself and align with nature through the power of nature, plants, and shrines. The Journey of Chakra Psychology course will educate you on the chakras and their meaning. The Intuition of the Heart course will help you understand how to trust your intuition. Learn how to face the shadows of self and understand the impact of following trends and materialism. Set boundaries and ask for permission to help establish better relationships, deeper connections, and more authentic conversations. Take your communication expertise to a higher level with the course for curious humans. After all, we are not robots. Looking to start your own podcast platform? Get everything you need in the Podcaster Pro package with Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. How can music, breath, and your voice set you free? Find out with the Power of Listening courses. Dr. Jacqueline is a certified meditation teacher, yoga instructor, and Juice Plus distributor. She will help you create a plan for your healthy lifestyle. As an expert in the art of interviewing with over 3,000 hosted and/or produced live broadcasts, Dr. Kerbeck helps her clients stand out as global broadcasters. Dr. Kerbeck's books are available on Amazon. Start your listening journey by reading. Tune into the Listening Mentor TV show, Fridays on USA Global TV, and learn how listening can be your superpower. Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, MBA, DBA, Certified Holistic Life, Career, and Executive Coach, Certified Yoga Sculpt Teacher, Certified Meditation Teacher, The Listening Mentor, Singer-Songwriter, Founder, President, Chief Listening Officer of USA Global TV and Radio. drjacqueline.com. Thank you to all our elevated listeners, team members, animal characters, and co-authors. Contact us at 215-852-9406. Jacqueline at drjacqueline.com.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honored to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USA Global TV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Music by Johnny Dyes. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative Direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.